One of the most common questions I see in 2026 for cloud computing online is I can't connect to my EC2 server or my virtual machine. I wanted to make this video because there are a few gotchas and things that you need to know, or things that you can troubleshoot with. The first main gotcha is usually just SSH access. Usually it's just that you are using the incorrect host name or the username, and the private key is not well specified. The second is the security group rules. A lot of the time I see that even people have completely left the entire firewall open to everyone, to SSH, which is really bad. Don't do this. The third is often people will launch their virtual machine into a private space or a private network or a private subnetwork, and that this means that it's completely non-accessible. Once you've launched your server and you're using it, it's then difficult to move it into different networking spaces. So this isn't something you really need to be aware of. Slightly more nuanced or less obvious reasons why you can't connect are usually that the instance itself is crashing, or it's still initializing or booting up. The other one that people commonly make mistake is they don't assign a public IP at launch, especially if they're launching into a public subnet. They don't launch that with a public IP. There could be a crazy reason like the public routing table is missing its route to the internet gateway, but this would be a bit crazier. But yeah, those are the most common use cases that I've seen for people who can't connect to a server. In addition to this, it's also really important that you know what your use cases are for having the server in the first place. So if you are prototyping, if you are hosting kind of a more traditional web server or application, if you are making a Bastion or a jump server that developers might use to go to other resources, like a private database, then these are the kinds of use cases where you would have a public subnet for your server. Also really important to know when you want to make your server privately accessible. If there's a use case where your database is on a server, or if you have a workload or you're doing some batch processing, these are all cases where you would put your server into a private subnet and connect to it by other means. In this very short tutorial, I'm going to launch an EC2 server on AWS and just go through some of the main configurations and explain what you can get wrong, what you can get right, and what you're doing and what your use cases are. And I think that will hopefully make things a lot clearer for people out there. Okay, so we're in our main EC2 dashboard right now. When we go to instances here, and then we're gonna go to launch an instance, we'll just call this, I don't know, my fun server, and then we're going to select for our AMI, so choose whatever you want here. Let's just go with Ubuntu for now with the free tier. Again, with the instance type, we'll keep the lowest possible vCPU and memory. You can change this later, but remember this would also change your public IP later, so that's important to know if you're shutting down an instance. Then we're going to create a new key pair, and usually I would name that the same. Yep. And that's downloaded. And then this is where people go wrong with the networking settings. So we just click edit here. Nothing is being changed. We're just looking at what's available. Look at our VPC here, and then we've got our main VPC that we've created in the last video, and then also we have our sub networks here. So if you've done your tagging and you've tagged right, which is why you should go and tag your sub networks with what they are correctly and make sure that they follow, you can go and verify what subnet that is and look at the route table of what that subnet goes to. But in this case, you can see quite clearly that it says public EU Central 1A, so I have some strong confidence that that's in the public subnet. Then this is really important that you also need to enable if, for example, this is a server that you're messing around with. If it's going to be a web server that you want to create, if you're just having fun as an MVP, prototype, whatever, then you want to enable auto assign a public IP so that you can connect with SSH, because this is what we're going to do in the next step. So we have some confidence with the things above, and now we would look at the security group itself. This is its own topic within itself, and how you manage security groups in the long term if you're managing a fleet of instances, or you're running a lot of servers. Managing security groups is a complex topic, but for this video, let's just keep it very simple. You would go with calling it something sensible. You can do naming conventions per region, or you can do it per use case, or you can do a combination of both. There is quite a lot of discussion online about this. Then looking at the protocol itself, and then we want to specify where we're accessing this instance from. So in this case, we're just doing SSH. So to access it from anywhere, which is what AWS will give you in the first place, it would be 0.0.0.0.0, and then, oops, don't want too many. And then you can see a warning pops up from AWS saying that anyone in the world can now access your instance public IP. This would allow people with brute force to try and get into your server if they were trying to attack you or for whatever reason. You would be safest, even in a test case, you would be safest putting in your home IP and then having 32, which would only allow one specific address. Again, if you saw my previous videos, you would understand a little bit about how CIDR works, classless inter-domain routing works here. But yeah, like that would be how we would connect right now. And then everything else, like the storage, you can come back to later with storage. You don't have to reinitialize or reconfigure or reboot an entire instance when you want to change the storage. You can always change the volume later. So we launch the instance. So my fun server is set up. We have a public IPv4 address. We have a private IPv4 address. We are confident about our VPC that we've launched into. We're confident about the subnet we've launched into. And now when we click connect, we'll get prompted to change the permissions on our private key file, and then we will also be given an example command of how to connect with the terminal. There are a few ways to connect to an EC2 server, but the most kind of conventional, traditional way is through SSH client. We would run this command here. So change mod 400. You can actually see I've already done this. And then make sure the path is correct. If everything is good, then you should see no error output. And then we can go and run an example here and just copy and paste this in. Some variations of this. The key is in my downloads folder, so remember the path should be correct here. And then click yes. And then we're in. That's it. Another use case for this, another way to connect would be through the IP itself. So you can just run this and copy the, if you didn't have any public DNS hostname assigned, then you can also just use the public IPv4 address with Ubuntu at, and then that's added to your known host names, and then you're also in that way as well. Cool. Okay, thought that was useful. If you like this, then please give me a like, subscribe. If you have any ideas for other videos, then let me know. Okay guys, thank you, bye bye.